Hey guys, welcome to this year's edition of Mike Predicts the NFL season so that you don't even have to watch any football. You can go all the apple picking you want to do with your significant other, anything you want to do once I reveal these picks for the year and who's going to win the Super Bowl. There's nothing more for you to do. Save your money every month on your, I don't know what it is, your YouTube TV or your Red Zone or whatever other stuff you're going to do. You might still play fantasy football because I don't do that stuff, but predicting the season, it's what I do every year. I'm right 60% of the time. I'm right all the time. So we're going to jump right in. But before I do that, I do have to preface this by saying I do have a little bit of Knicks hangover because, as you can see, the Knicks are the NBA champions, and OG Anunoby had the tip in heard around the world. So I just want to throw that in before we get started. To anybody out there who needs to be a hater, feel free to hate. World champs, 53 years, whatever you want to do. Okay. Now, let's jump into the season. So I am going to go from the AFC East over all the way down. I'm going to finish at the NFC East, which I always do because my New York Giants are in the NFC East, and I want to do that one last. And I have a lot of opinions about that division more than all the other divisions. So let's start with the AFC East, and this is how it's going to end up. So, guys, here's the thing about the NFC East. Yes, the Patriots went to the Super Bowl. Yes, they were fortunate there was a Bo Nix injury. Yes, they were fortunate the Broncos upset the Bills. The Bills were the better team for the season, but the Patriots still got there. So, hey, look, nobody taking away their flowers. Great job. They went to the Super Bowl and got their shit kicked out of them. So, no big deal. That season's over. However, this year is going to be a little bit different. So let's start at the bottom and get the easy, low-hanging fruit out of the way. The Jets suck. They're terrible. They don't have a quarterback. Now, they got some pieces, don't get me wrong. Like, they got a good wide receiver room. They got some decent guys on defense, but they're not going anywhere. And the Dolphins aren't much better. This could be a toss-up for last place. The Dolphins are terrible. They're in full rebuild. Those two teams are going to go 0 for 4 against the Bills, 0 for 4 against the Patriots. Patriots are still a good team. They're young, even though they had a tough time in the Super Bowl. They're still a young team. They're still good, but the Bills are going to win the division, no doubt. Bills might even finish as a top seed in the AFC just because the rest of the division is very, very beatable. On to the North. Look, this could go either way on both ends of the spectrum here. I'm going with the Ravens just because the franchise itself has a history of being consistent and being good. The Bengals, on the other hand, are the opposite. Whatever the consistency is, and like traditional and like blue chip, the Bengals are the opposite. They're like the penny stock of the NFL. Always taking flyers, always taking a chance, signing defensive linemen who haven't played well in 2 years and giving up a first round pick for it. That's the Bengals in a nutshell. But they're still better than the Steelers and the Browns. So I think Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, with a new coach, some new blood, might infuse them that I think the Ravens will still be at the cream of the crop in that division, followed by the Bengals. Always, when you have Joe Burrow, you always have a shot, followed by the Steelers, who are, I don't want to say in rebuild because they're consistently good every year, like consistently in the middle of the pack, but then the Browns are the Browns. Browns got good pieces everywhere throughout the team except for their alleged rapist quarterback one and their thinks he's in the Hall of Fame because his dad is quarterback two. I don't think either of them are taking them anywhere. So that's how I think it's going to finish up. On to the North. Listen, this one for me is tricky. I think the Texans are going to win it specifically because their defense is really good. And if CJ Stroud plays well, that team's going to be tough to beat in that division. Now, the next two could go either way, but I know I'm going to take shit for this. But I genuinely believe Daniel Jones is a better quarterback than Trevor Lawrence. I just do. Trevor Lawrence came in all sizzle, no steak. Daniel Jones is the least sizzle there is. But if you give him an offensive line, give him a running game, he's going to win you games. He can be a consistent quarterback as long as he stays healthy. So in this division as a toss-up, I think the Colts are going to be better than the Jags. It could go either way, but I'm still leaning towards the Colts. And then the Titans are the Titans. They're in rebuild mode. You know, Cam Ward is a bust. He's not quite, I don't know what the guy's name was. Russell was the quarterback for the Raiders out of LSU 12 years ago. He was terrible. He's not quite Ryan Leaf yet, but he is definitely
definitely was a reach for the Titans 2 years ago, and he's going to be, he's just not going to get it done, and they're going to finish at the bottom. On to the West. This has traditionally been a pretty tough division the last few years just because the Chiefs have been so good. But Broncos. Bo Nix comes back healthy. Supporting cast is good. They should have probably played in the Super Bowl last year. They squeaked past the Bills. Either way, in this division, I still think they're the top team. The Chargers could possibly take over because they got good coaching, got a great quarterback. But as far as the rest of the division goes, I just don't see Kansas City doing it. I think Travis Kelce's swan song here, he's just not going to do it. I don't think they have the horses to do it. Although probably the best coaching of any division in football right now between Andy Reid, Sean Payton, and Jim Harbaugh. But I just don't see the Chiefs living up to the hype. And then Fernando Mendoza, while he has been great in some training camp, I just don't know if he's got enough to help the Raiders not be the Raiders. So I think that's how the AFC is going to finish up. We'll get into how the playoff picture is going to look here in a minute when we go through the NFC. Next division, probably one of the toughest divisions in football. Forget the Cardinals because the Cardinals are meh. But the rest of the division, if the 49ers didn't have 17 injuries on the injury report, they'd be better. But the Seahawks are defending Super Bowl champions, and the Rams are probably the best roster in football with one of the best coaches. Hall of Fame quarterback, Hall of Fame defensive lineman, Hall of Fame defensive end. Between Myles Garrett, Aaron Donald coming back, the Rams quarterback, their wide receivers that they have on the outside, the Rams should take this division over the Seahawks, but they always play each other tough. So that's how that's going to hash out. And then on from the best division in football to probably the worst. This is the JV division in the NFC. Frankly, I'm giving the Bucs the nod simply because of Baker Mayfield. I've never been a huge Baker Mayfield fan, but the one thing about him is he plays with a ton of heart. When he's fired up and emotion, he's going to go and he's going to produce. So I think Baker Mayfield trying to get a contract is going to outplay the rest of the NFC South. And mainly because I just don't know if Bryce Young is ready. I mean, he's a lot better last year, don't get me wrong. But I don't know if he's ready to necessarily jump over him. And then the Falcons are kind of a mess. Tua Tagovailoa, I say it every year. He's one hit away from a chopped salad and concussion protocol. I can't really talk about that because I got Jackson Dart, but Tua is like Jackson Dart on steroids. And then the Saints, I just don't think the Saints are there. I think that they may have found a quarterback. I don't know, but the coaching needs to be better. The overall team needs to be better. So this division, 9 wins might get you in the playoffs. I don't think you're going to see a lot of wild card teams coming out of the NFC South. And now on to the NFC North, which is probably the toughest division in the NFC. We'll start at the bottom. The Vikings have Kyler Murray, and they went out and got him because their second-year phenom out of Michigan can't seem to get out of his way between injuries and can't make a throw because he didn't throw in college. He handed off, but yet somehow they decided to draft him with a top 10 pick. Who knows? I don't get it. But they did it. Then they have to go out and get a guy named Kyler Murray, who, the history for him is never in his playbook, doesn't have his head on straight. And when he does have his head on straight, it's still only 5'7". So he's going to struggle seeing over their offensive line. And guys, I'll be honest, guys like Kyler Murray, even Baker Mayfield, even like guys like Russell Wilson, all those guys that are that sort of frail, like Jaden Daniels, all those guys that are not super tall, a little bit frail, that bounce around and move around the pocket. I'd even put Jalen Hurts in that category. He's probably the best one out of all of them, but he's only the best one out of all of them because of his offensive line. So I would say the Vikings are going to struggle at the bottom of that. The other team on the next rung up is the Packers. I've never been a Jordan Love fan. I don't see it. I don't know what everybody's so enamored with him, as far as how his play goes. I think he had one good year. He looked good against a fourth place schedule, and he made a little bit of a run, but I just don't see him being it. But then at the top of this division, I never want to count out the Lions. They're tough. They emulate their coach. And then the Bears, Everybody was down on him when he came out, but he's a freak of nature, is Caleb Williams. He can throw the ball from any angle on the run. He's like a beefed up version of Patrick Mahomes. He can throw sidearm. He can throw backwards. He can throw off his back foot 50 yards in the air and drop it in the bucket. Caleb Williams, if he gets support from his receiving core, which they have a good receiving core, and if he gets good play from his defense, the Bears are going to be good. I think they're going to win the division. And then on to my favorite division, the NFC East, because my New York Giants are there. And I'm going to just jump into the teams here as we go, looking from the bottom to the top. The aforementioned Jaden Daniels, I liked him coming out of college. I thought he was great. The problem is he gets hit. He's super frail. I mean, my quarterback takes a hit. He keeps coming back. Jaden Daniels gets hit, and he kind of snaps. If he can stay healthy, they might be better, but I don't see him staying healthy, and I think they're going to finish in last. I think the flash in the pan 2 years ago to get to the NFC Championship game was just, that was it. It was just a flash. As far as the next team up is the Cowboys. Look, all the Cowboy fans on my feed are going to give me shit about this. Every year I hear the same thing because I say the same thing. Dak Prescott is not it. He hasn't been it since he came into the league. He came into the league with one of the best offensive lines in all of football, Ezekiel Elliott and Dez Bryant as his quarterback, as his wide receiver. I could have got behind that offensive line and handed off to Zeke and just lofted a ball up to Dez Bryant and still had decent seasons then. He's got CeeDee Lamb. He's got an average running game. He's got a good offensive line, but it's still not enough. Dak Prescott folds under pressure, can't take the heat. I mean, he's not going to, maybe he'll win a playoff game this year. That would be a big win for the Cowboys, but I don't see him doing it out of the third place slot in the NFC East. The Giants, here's the deal. 2 years ago, they win 2 games. They get the worst schedule, like the hardest schedule in the NFL last year, and then shit the bed again. Are they great? No. Are they better? They're way better. The coaching is better. The defensive front seven is probably, even without Dexter Lawrence, is better than it's been in 7, 8, 9 years. Okay? They have Avril Reese looks like a monster, doesn't talk, keeps his mouth shut. Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, Spider Burns. They just have a sick linebacking core, defensive end group. All they got to do is find a QB that can shut somebody down, and then they can fill in the rest of the blanks. And then on offense, the offensive line is probably one of the best ones I've seen from the Giants in a decade. If they all gel together, their rookie right guard plays well from Miami. They could give Jackson Dart enough protection to be able to hit Malik Neighbors deep, Odell Beckham on the slant, Isaiah Likely in the seam. They could do that. And then you got the mental case, Cam Scatterbo. As long as Jackson Dart doesn't continue to try to bang his head against the wall like Cam does, hopefully we'll be out of concussion protocol and be able to finish in the top 2 in the division, maybe make a wild card. And that's behind the Eagles. Look, I already said what I feel about Jalen Hurts. I say it every year. Similar to Dak Prescott, he's literally sitting behind the best offensive line in football the past 4 years. There's no team with a better offensive line. They lose an all-pro Hall of Fame center, and they still just keep ticking. Their offensive line is that good. Jalen Hurts is good because he has Saquon Barkley and that line. He's going to lose A.J. Brown this year, who's going to go to the Patriots, but I don't know if that's going to be enough to knock them down. They still have Devonta Smith, who I wanted out of college. I thought he would have been a great Giant, but he's an okay Eagle. And the Eagles, I still think, win the division. So all that being said, that's how the divisions play out. Let's talk about the AFC and NFC championship game. I genuinely believe that of all this, with the exception of maybe the Bears, the NFC championship game is going to be the Rams and the Seahawks. And I think the Rams are going to be too tough defensively up front with Myles Garrett and Aaron Donald getting after Sam Darnold, that they're going to be able to take them over and beat them and go to the Super Bowl. So I have the Rams going out of the NFC. And then in the AFC, I know it sounds like a broken record. I say the same thing every year. I genuinely, truly believe that the Bills are going to go to the AFC championship game and they're going to get the Broncos. Broncos, Bills in Buffalo, in their new stadium. The Bills should beat up on their division. They should have home field advantage. They should be able to play that home game in the title game. And finally, with no Patrick Mahomes in the way, no Joe Burrow in the way, get past Bo Nix and the Broncos at home. Rams, Bills, Super Bowl. Not sure if it was the same picks last year, but it might have been. It was close. I think I had the Seahawks and the Patriots last year around this time, but I don't exactly remember. My memory's foggy. But this year, it's going to be the Bills and the Rams in the Super Bowl. Bills are going to go there, and unfortunately, even though my heart wants them to win, because I know so many Bills fans suffering for so long, I just think the Rams have too many horses. The front line, that front line, if they stay healthy, is going to get after everybody they play, and Josh Allen's going to be no exception. And it's going to be the Los Angeles Rams winning the Super Bowl this year, and then Aaron Donald will ride off into the sunset, as will Matt Stafford, and then the rest of the league can breathe easier. So, guys, there you have it. No need to renew your YouTube TV subscription, your Sunday ticket, your Red Zone. Yeah, I get that. That's probably fine. But feel free to book any kind of weekend getaways with your wife. I'm sure she would love that. Go enjoy. Have a great fall. Come back to me as soon as I post this. You guys are more than welcome to tell me how stupid I am, what I don't know about football, why your team's going to be better because I forgot that they have some 7th-round draft pick who's going to set the world on fire. Let me know. I love to hear it in the comments. But come back to me in February after Valentine's Day when this whole thing's over and the Rams are the Super Bowl champs. See you guys soon. Have a great season.